municipalities in South Africa are all governed by the DA. DA mayors are working hard to protect residents from national government failures by getting the basics right, delivering better services, and having zero tolerance for corruption. This is the DA difference. The next broadcast will start shortly. Follow us on social media for the latest in news and politics in South Africa. Like and follow our page on Facebook. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Be part of the conversation. Tell us what you think in the comment section. And please like and share our videos with your friends and family. The next broadcast will start shortly. If you care about South Africa and want to make a positive difference, then join the DA. Visit our website at da.org.za for more information. Find out who represents you in your ward and district and who are the DA mayors working for you in your town or city, and which MPs represent you and your causes in Parliament. On our website, you can learn more about our latest campaigns and how you can get involved. Join the Democratic Alliance to rescue South Africa. Become an activist, become a councillor, become a member of Parliament if you care about South Africa. Please visit donate.da.org.za. Donate to a cause you believe in. Donate to make a difference. Did you know the best run municipalities in South Africa are all governed by the DA? DA mayors are working hard to protect residents from national government failures by getting the basics right, delivering better services, and having zero tolerance for corruption. This is the DA difference. The next broadcast will start shortly. Follow us on social media for the latest in news and politics in South Africa. Like and follow our page on Facebook. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Be part of the conversation. Tell us what you think in the comment section. And please like and share our videos with your friends and family. The next broadcast will start shortly. If you care about South Africa and want to make a positive difference, then join the DA. Visit our website at da.org.za for more information. Find out who represents you in your ward and district and who are the DA mayors working for you in your town or city, and which MPs represent you and your causes in Parliament. On our website, you can learn more about our latest campaigns and how you can get involved. Join the Democratic Alliance to rescue South Africa. Become an activist, become a councillor, become a member of Parliament if you care about South Africa. Please visit donate.da.org.za. Donate to a cause you believe in. Donate to make a difference. Let's rescue South Africa. Join the DA, because the DA gets things done.
Residents of Johannesburg have been plagued by water shortages.
Several parts of Joburg and Randburg are hard hit, with residents pleading for more water tankers.
Experts say that aging infrastructure as well as lack of maintenance are all a big part of this problem.
Some residents have been battling shortages to no water for months now.
Joburg Water says more reservoirs are either critically low or completely empty, and some hospitals in the province have had to make alternative arrangements for water supplies.
While the city of Joburg and Rand Water says there isn't any water, they're losing a lot of water as well.
Experts say as much as 60% of the water that is pumped into Johannesburg Water is lost through a failing infrastructure.
Clearly, it shows that the infrastructure was never maintained.
Joburg Water doesn't have 64 billion rand needed to repair replace and refurbish failing infrastructure.
A lot of the lack of funds is due to corrupt activity that has diverted resources away from where they need to be spent into certain officials' pockets.
It's quite difficult. It's very difficult. It's taking us back to the village.
It's a desperate situation, a struggle for a basic need.
Tell them, one of them, to live with us for one day and then see if they're going to survive. But we have to survive.
Are we on the verge of a water crisis, or in fact we have reached crisis point?
Hello, South Africa. My name is Nazli Sharif, and today we are coming to you live from Johannesburg, where the DA is addressing the water crisis affecting communities across the country. Access to clean water is not negotiable. It is a basic human right. We have seen the collapse of water infrastructure under the ANC and a lack of maintenance with no clear plan. Today, the DA is here to put this water crisis on the national agenda. We are saying no to dry taps. Please like and share this broadcast with all your friends and your family, and join the conversation online using the hashtag #NoDryTaps. Later on, we will be hearing from DA Leader John Steenhuisen, as well as DA leaders from across the country, so make sure you stay tuned. I am now joined by the DA's Deputy Spokesperson on Water and Sanitation, Stephen Moore. Hello, Stephen, and welcome to the broadcast. Stephen, today we are out here in Johannesburg to demand action for water and sanitation rights. How are you feeling?
Nazli, I'm genuinely worried. Every single day in Parliament we're receiving complaints from communities across the entire country of water outages, whether small towns, large cities, in every neck of the entire country, and it's serious. We're talking entire provinces under threat of running out of water.
Yeah. Stephen, what is the main cause of this water crisis? Surely it cannot simply be drought.
Definitely not, Nazli. So obviously South Africa is a water scarce country, but the cause of this problem is clear, and it's municipal failure. Even the ANC minister said that this is a self-inflicted crisis. It's municipal leadership, it's municipal management. So the politicians and the administration in towns like Johannesburg, like Tabazimbi, like eThekwini, who are failing the residents that have caused this problem.
Yeah. Stephen, as residents of Johannesburg, both of us are residents of Johannesburg, we know exactly what it means to not have water. How does this crisis affect South Africans on their day-to-day lives?
You know, Naz, like a lot of people have tried to compare this to the electricity crisis, but water isn't like electricity. When you don't have water, it affects you at your home. I've got a less than 1-year-old baby. That is a crisis the second the water goes out. If you're going for a life-saving operation, but the hospital has no water, it gets cancelled. Schools are affected, clinics are affected. If you have a fire and the fire engines cannot get water, it can result in damage. This affects everyone, and it is dire.
Yeah, it is dire, Stephen. People go for days, weeks, and sometimes months without water. And oftentimes, Stephen, we feel that there's nobody fighting for us. There's nobody really taking this fight of water to where it needs to go. What is the DA doing to fight this water crisis?
Naz, if people are feeling they aren't people fighting for water, I must tell you, the DA is fighting. Your councillors are fighting every single day to try and get the best they can out of these municipalities. They are fighting for you, the residents, but we've also taken it beyond that. At a provincial level, we've taken it to the Department of Cogta to try and get provinces to actually help make municipalities work. And at a parliamentary level, we've put pressure on the Department of Water and Sanitation, which is why finally we're seeing action in places like Gauteng, where they're finally admitting they have a crisis. We're seeing action by the Mayor of Joburg. Because of a parliamentary level, pressure from national, we are forcing them to try and fix the problem.
Yeah. Stephen, what can we expect here today? What will we be hearing from our DA leaders?
So, Naz, I'm actually excited because John Steenhuisen is here, our national leader, to talk about the crisis across the entire country, because it isn't just in Joburg. It's not just in Gauteng. It's across the entire country. But better than that, we have brought in the leadership from each of the provinces to show that we are active in every single province.
Absolutely. I think it's so important that it's not just specific provinces or cities that try to come up with solutions. It has to be everybody that comes together and works on this. Now, Stephen, we spoke a little bit earlier about the lack of maintenance and the the collapsing of infrastructures. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what, how does this affect the water getting from the reservoir to the taps?
Naz, I mean, Joburg itself loses more water to leaks in the ground than the entire province of the Northern Cape, the entire province of the Free State. The lack of maintenance and pipes seems like an irritating thing when you see it pouring out of your road, but it is a crisis when Joburg loses half of the water for all residents. That's half of the water that should be coming to our taps and making sure we have water. That's when you fail to look after your infrastructure. And just to say, it can be fixed. You can fix infrastructure. You can look after it. We do it where we govern.
Yeah. Stephen, let's get into that. You say we can do it. How do we do it?
I mean, let's start off with these two key things, Naz. The one thing is, this is for all of us, all right? We are all in this together as South Africans. We're a water-scarce country, and we need to all focus on saving water. We need to try and be careful with the water. But to be blunt with you, this is a municipal crisis. And in 2026, there's a local government election. We need to see change. We need to see people who are going to focus on this crisis and fix our municipalities. Because if they don't fix, this crisis is going to get worse and worse. So I'd really like to ask people to please go to nodrytaps.co.za, sign our petition, help us put pressure on, and come out and support the DA towards 2026.
Absolutely. Now, you spoke a little bit about getting things done in places where we govern, such as Midvaal and the Western Cape. What are they doing right that cities like Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni is doing wrong?
I mean, it's the basics. It's the basics. And I know it's not sexy, but financial management, when you look after the money of a municipality, that's your money. That's our money that we are spending on residents rather than on, to be blunt, nonsense. Yep. We need government who's going to focus on maintenance, who's going to focus on the infrastructure, who's going to focus on the residents' real needs. And that's the DA difference. When the entire Sedibeng district municipality is in crisis, but in there's one little municipality called Midvaal, which is a shining light. It shows the DA difference of just doing the basics right.
Yeah. Now, Stephen, I heard that it will take years, almost decades, to fix all the leaks and the cracks and the reservoirs. We simply don't have that much time. We don't.
No, we don't. But you know what? This problem's been coming for decades. It's going to take a long time to fix. But if you have passionate people, driven people who are focused on this issue, who put money behind their words and just don't speak big promises, but act on them, you can make a difference. And all we need at the moment is to start making things better, not allowing them to be worse. Yeah. If things get better each day, then eventually this problem will be gone and we'll be able to thrive as South Africans.
Yeah. Now, Stephen, before I let you go, can you tell us a little bit about what can those at home, those ordinary South Africans do to strengthen our hand while we fight against this water crisis?
Thanks, Nez. Yeah, so I mean, listen, I said before, we want people to come out to us, we want people to be involved in the water problem, report the water leaks, report everything else, but the reality is we need you to come out and support the DA. We need you to come out and support your councillors. They are fighting fearlessly for you in the most difficult situations. Come out, be part of the team so we can change these municipalities in 2026 and bring a blue change, a water to everyone.
Thank you so much, Stephen. There you have it. Go ahead and sign our petition at nodrytaps.co.za. We will now be crossing over to the stage where we will be hearing from DA Leader John Steenhuisen as well as DA leaders from across the country on exactly what the crisis is and what the DA is doing to fight for water and sanitation rights. Make sure you don't go anywhere.
Good morning, colleagues. For those of you joining us online, good morning and thank you for taking the opportunity to tune in. My name is Karaba Khakhaudi, National Spokesperson. The purpose of today's presser is to simply have a chat about the state of water in the country. We are, yes, in Johannesburg, in the south of Johannesburg, where a whole lot of water problems have been water problems have been a topic of conversations across board. But we know that Johannesburg and Gauteng aren't the only places that are affected by water. The entire South Africa has a problem. So as the Democratic Alliance, we're going to be unpacking those issues provincially and what it is that we think should happen moving forward. Joining me for that conversation is our federal leader, here immediate to my left, John Steenhuisen. We're also joined by the chairperson, the provincial chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in KwaZulu-Natal, that is Dean Macpherson. Right next to Dean is the caucus leader of the Democratic Alliance in Johannesburg, that is Mayor Belinda Kaiser Echos-Onjuku. Right next to Belinda is the provincial chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in Mpumalanga, that is Ndate Bosman Grobler. And on the far left, we have one of our provincial deputy chairpersons in the Free State, that is Dr. Igor Skierkochel. To my immediate right, we have the mayor of the Midvaal DA-run Midvaal municipality here in Gauteng, that is Majoro Peter Texera. Right next to Peter, we have the provincial leader of the Democratic Alliance in Limpopo, that is Mayor Lindy Wilson. Right next to Lindy, we have the provincial leader of the Democratic Alliance here in Gauteng, that is Ndate Msimanga. Right next to Soli, we have the Democratic Alliance Deputy Spokesperson on Water in Parliament, that is Stephen Moore. And on the far right at the end of the table, we have the DA Spokesperson on Water and Sanitation in Parliament, as well as the provincial leader of the Northwest, that is Leon Basson. So with that, we are going to have a standard program. We're going to have we're going to have addresses by all the leadership here, and thereafter colleagues from the media will have a Q&A for you guys. John, I'll hand over straight to you.
Thank you very much, Karabo, and good morning to ladies and gentlemen, to the panel that's here today, and of course to those people watching at home. It's with a sense of great urgency that we address you today on the water crisis in South Africa. That's in South Africa generally, but Johannesburg in particular. 2 months ago, the South Hills water tower right here had outages affecting water supply to residents of Ward 56 and Ward 57 in Johannesburg, including schools, old age homes, and an orphanage for a period of almost 2 weeks. Nationally, from Macpherson to Lekwa, from eThekwini to Makanda, to Msimanga to Mangaung, daily outages are becoming the norm in many areas of our country. Some of these communities across the country have not had water for months, despite having the necessary infrastructure. Behind me on this board, you can see the statistics plain as day. These are the provinces and the metros that have experienced water interruptions for more than 2 days. In Mpumalanga, 70% of homes have experienced water outages lasting longer than 2 days. Nationally, 36% of homes experience water outages lasting longer than 2 days. Yet, in the Western Cape, as you can see, only 3% of homes experience outages. And we'll get to why that is just now. This is data from 2023. Since then, the situation, particularly in places like Gauteng, has worsened dramatically. The decline has been devastating from a province like Gauteng that used to be the second most reliable provider of water behind the Western Cape. Now, I don't need to tell you how bad it is. Instead, I want to tell you today one person's story. I want to tell you about Portia Mantle, a single mother of 4 children in Vergenoegd informal settlement outside Attridgeville. Without a job, who uses her social grant to buy water. There is a municipal tank outside her home, but it is always empty. So she and other residents are forced to buy water from people who sell it in the street at 5 Rand for 20 litres. Her 300 Rand a month grant must feed 5 people, but now it must also buy water too. Water that should be her democratic right. Portia is just one of many South Africans desperate for their local governments to do the basics, provide water as they are supposed to do. Across the country, local government councillors come under tremendous pressure from communities to resolve water-related issues. In most cases, the solutions are out of their control as the senior leadership, who are meant to plan and implement proper water management in their towns and cities, have checked out and are absent. Earlier this year, a task team was formed, led by the Deputy President. To date, no noticeable interventions have been initiated, as residents face worsening outages and millions of rands of water continues to be lost through leaks and illegal connections. Just yesterday, there were reports that in the south of Joburg, Region G, the city loses 60 million rand a year, primarily due to illegal connections. A recent DA oversight inspection in the Alfred and Zor District Municipality of the Eastern Cape has revealed a humanitarian crisis. We found contaminated wells and rivers, people sharing water sources with animals, and an abandoned water treatment plant. The Free State's Kopanong municipality has been reported to have active sewage leaks in Betuli and Springfontein, prompting the South African Human Rights Commission to call for urgent intervention by the Kopanong municipality, as well as the provincial government. Separately, we wrote to the Human Rights Commission last year around the national water crisis, and the matter was escalated to their National Legal Services Unit, but since then we've heard nothing further. One of the follow-up action steps from today will be to follow up with them and request them to now treat this with the urgency it deserves. The Free State and Northwest Water Boards face bankruptcy in the next 6 months due to the failure of local municipalities to pay for bulk supply. South African municipalities face significant challenges with bulk water debt, which totals over 22.4 billion rand nationally. Now, I can spend all morning talking about municipal water failure and action around the country, and my colleagues joining me today are going to elaborate on the crisis at a local level, highlighting some of the action steps the DA has taken. But I do think it is important to make this important point, is that no matter how much work is done at a national level, no matter how much planning is done at a national level, if local government cannot get its act together, if local municipalities cannot keep infrastructure maintained and reticulation services maintained, then nothing national government does or says can be implemented at a local level. And this is the reality. It is also why the 3% in the Western Cape is so significant. And it sends out a very clear message that it doesn't have to be this way. Provincial and local government need to step up to the plate. And in this province of Gauteng, we've seen a hands-off approach by Premier Lesofie and the provincial government, and we've seen a don't-care attitude by the Action South Africa, EFF and ANC-led council here in Gauteng. Now, 2 weeks ago, the President wanted to declare a state of disaster over the spate of foodborne illnesses. So we cannot move from crisis to crisis, throwing our hands up in despair. We do not accept dry taps as a new normal, and neither should residents. And what the 3% shows very clearly is that when you have a municipality that's fixing the leaks, that's doing proper credit control, that's paying its bulk water providers, that is making sure that the relevant maintenance of water reticulation and storage and pump schemes are done, you can avoid this situation. It is not the inevitable in South Africa. There is hope, and we can change the ending of the story. Everything to fix the crisis is already available. And again, facing drought in the Western Cape and the city of Cape Town, it is the provincial government working in close collaboration with local government that has been able to get people through many of these water crises that have faced them. We do not see the same sense of coordination here with a hands-off attitude by the very people who should be getting their hands stuck in resolving this issue. It's going to require a collaborative approach at all levels of government. It cannot just be a local government issue. Provincial government and national government also have roles to play, as do industry stakeholders and more public-private partnerships. When people vote, they can bring real long-term solutions to the water crisis anywhere in the country. Earlier this year, the Auditor General confirmed again that the DA is the most responsible party at a municipal level. 19 clean audits. The DA municipalities proved that they use public funds the best. 63% of DA municipalities achieved clean audits, far and away the highest achievers nationally. In 2023, the City of Cape Town announced they would allocate 10.9 billion rand towards infrastructure. This is the biggest spend of any metro in South Africa, and that amount is bigger than Johannesburg and eThekwini's infrastructure budgets combined. Poor planning on the part of local municipalities has resulted in aged infrastructure, and the Action South Africa, EFF and ANC Alliance and the Johannesburg City Council have not got to grips with this particular problem in the way that it should be, and have not provided adequate budget to effect proper repairs and maintenance in the city. The numbers do not lie. Where the DA governs, we deliver, we partner with the private sector and do what it takes to give South Africans what they need. Jobs and inclusive growth, but also the infrastructure that is so necessary to provide that. There is no way that a municipality can attract investment, can bring industry and other operations to a city to provide jobs if you do not have the most basic infrastructure right. So we have a plan to involve private companies in water infrastructure projects to overcome the funding hurdles, work towards developing water-sensitive cities that optimize stormwater and urban waterways for improved flood control and water reuse, as well as wastewater. 3, a program to develop water-wise citizens. We have to change our relationship with water in South Africa. We must be one of the only countries in the world remaining that flushes clean drinking water down into sewage systems. We need to adopt a scientific method in assessing the risks related to chemical pollution. And we need to consider a dedicated, ring-fenced grant for water infrastructure maintenance. And we must fast-track dam and water treatment works, infrastructure development and maintenance. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And every single city and town needs to plan for future demand. After the 2018 drought, which affected the city of Cape Town and the Western Cape, the city embarked on an ambitious plan to ensure that the city had sufficient water and reduced its reliance on rainwater by introducing a 3-pronged approach, including a groundwater aquifer, use of a state-of-the-art treatment plant, and desalination of seawater. This is the kind of thing that all municipalities should be implementing across South Africa. We want to protect our nation's most precious natural resource, and our country's future is at stake. Securing that future depends on citizens. We do not have a constitutional mandate to fix water issues where we don't have the opportunity to govern. And we want to start making a dent in the national water crisis with your vote in 2026. This year, many of you voted to rescue South Africa, and we're doing that nationally in the government of national unity to try and do what we can to rescue South Africa. DA ministers are hard at work in their portfolios trying to make the difference. The reality is that Portia's story cannot just be another that we hear in an increasingly desensitized way. We need to make sure that we turn this around, and we can restore the dignity of our people by making sure that their constitutional or basic human right to water is upheld and fulfilled. It won't be easy, it won't be quick, but as you will hear from DA leaders here today, it can be done with the right will and the right determination. We expect now collective effort, and I believe that by working together, that the provincial government stopping its hands-off approach adopted by the Lesotho administration, and this city council getting off its hands, and the Action South Africa ANC EFF coalition in the city doing something tangible about this water crisis, I believe that we can start to rescue not only Johannesburg from the water crisis, but South Africa from this water crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, and good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to the viewers at home as well as the members of the media that are present here. My name is Councillor Peter Texera. I'm the Executive Mayor of Midvaal Local Municipality. So I'm going to tell you a story of our municipality and what it is that we are doing in terms of investing into bulk infrastructure, especially for water within our municipality. So when we came into power about 20 years ago, the first thing that we did was to put together an infrastructure master plan, and one of it was for water, where we wanted to understand what it is that we need to do or where we need to invest our money, and into whether it is reservoirs, pump stations, aged asbestos cement pipes, etc. And this master plan was able to give us guidance as to where to put our money in. And I'm proud to announce that with our master plan that we've kept as a guiding document for 20 years, we are able to ensure that we continue providing adequate water to our residents in Midvaal. Now, the municipality is investing annually in bulk infrastructure development within the municipality. We replace just over 30,000 meters of old age asbestos pipelines into new UPVC pipelines, which is a much more durable pipeline, which also accommodates our area because our area is highly dolomitic. Now, this investment has also gone into your pressure-reducing valves, where we are also putting in, your bulk meters for industries, ensuring that the telemetry systems within our municipality is also functional. And for us, recently, we also unveiled a state-of-the-art control room within the municipality where we can monitor pressure drops, but we can also remotely reduce water pressure where there is, pipe breakages, etc. We can then manage the system and ensure that we do not lose any water. The municipality is even further going into, being less reliant on rainwater. And we all know the challenges that rainwater has in Gauteng. So the municipality is also looking at a water reclamation plant at our wastewater treatment works in Meyerton, where we're going to be purifying water, turning this water into grey water, which we can then sell to the industries at a much lower tariff. So for us as Midvaal, it is no longer an issue of capacity. We have sufficient capacity because of our master plan and the existing infrastructure that we have. We also ensure that there is a proper maintenance and repairs strategy where we know exactly as to when we should be doing maintenance to our reservoirs and all our infrastructure for water within our municipality. And because we have sufficient water capacity within our municipality, this has attracted investment into our municipality. So we're seeing the local economy grow in Midvaal because of the water capacity that we have as a municipality. And this has really, really assisted us to ensure that we can, the private sector can come into our municipality and ensure that they grow the economy, and in return, it can create the much needed jobs for our people within Midvaal. This is why Midvaal municipality has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. It's because it's a fast-growing municipality and we have all of the necessary capacity of all of our infrastructure, not water. And as I've said, our plan is to reduce the reliance on rainwater and to ensure that we can supply treat our own water within the Vaal River that we have, as well as Bas Lake. We are currently talking to Bas Lake, the management of Bas Lake, to also extract water from the lake, purify the water and convert it to potable drinking water for our residents. This is to ensure that we do not depend purely on rainwater for the supply of water to our municipality. So all of our systems are in place as a municipality. We do not have any issues of water supply in our area. We do get blue drop statuses from Rainwater Board as well, and from the Department of Water and Sanitation annually, because of the regular maintenance that we do in terms of our water infrastructure within the municipality. So I'm a very, very proud mayor speaking to you this morning, because I know that we've protected and shielded our residents in Midvaal from these water cuts that are happening across the country. And we will continue investing in our water infrastructure as a municipality. We recently built a 10 megaliter water reservoir within our municipality. And when I say that we have sufficient capacity, that particular 10 megaliter reservoir, we are using it just to boost water pressure for other areas, not as a shortage or a reservoir that we built for, in terms of remedying a water shortage issue. Thus, we're using that reservoir just to boost water pressure in our area. We've, as I indicated earlier, our pressure reducing valves are all working, and we've got, we've got constant water supply to even our prominent businesses that are located in Midvaal, like the Heineken breweries, who is located in Midvaal, and we consistently supply them with water, and there is never issues of shortages. So we are really, really proud as Midvaal. We will continue investing in our water infrastructure. And this is possible for the rest of the country, as our leader John has indicated, provided that there is proper political will to serve the community. And public reps like myself, we often take a reflection and understand why we occupy these positions, which is to serve the people and protect them from such issues as water crisis. So I thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah. Ezzo, can you get some tape?
There you go.
Look at you. Little Miss Fix-It.
I'm a woman.
It's just melting. Yes, Sully, it's not going to jump at you.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being here, and good morning to the residents of South Africa, and in particular the residents of Gauteng. The first thing that I want to say here to the members of the media and to the people of South Africa is that we are not going to blame the residents for what is happening. The last thing that we would do is to blame the residents. Yes, there's a need to make sure that there is consumer education around the usage of water and how to actually then ensure that water is used sparingly. But we're not going to blame the residents. The residents who are on a daily basis calling for the repairs of burst pipes, for the repairs of meters that are leaking, yet there is slow response of government, is actually to blame for the crisis that we're sitting with. The lack of proper planning and foresight is to blame for what we're sitting with right now. You have now a populist, rhetoric that is coming from Rainwater to then say, we want, our license to be renewed. We want a bigger capacity license. The question is, even if you were to get that bigger capacity, the fact of the matter is your infrastructure, existing infrastructure, is not going to be able to then carry the water that you are asking, to be released. So even if you were to be given a bigger license, where is the water going to go? You are just going to have a bigger mess that is going to be taking place and a disaster that is going to be fast-tracked. We are sitting here, a leader, with 11 municipalities in this province of ours, including the metros. And I can tell you right now that none of these municipalities on their own will be able to deal with the issue of the infrastructure. And this is why we have said right from the beginning, even when we were engaging with Panyaza Lusufi and when we were trying to put government together, is that one of the things that we were demanding from the get-go is to have a plan, an infrastructure master plan. Because I can tell you right now, water that is coming from here is somehow connected to Ekenhof, is somehow connected to what is water that is coming from Ekurhuleni. The people that are having water in Tshwane, having water that is coming from the Vaal, going through Ekurhuleni into Tshwane, and then from Tshwane, even going to places like Bretz, going to Mogale City and all of that. And therefore, to then say municipalities must plan on their own is not a working solution. A solution to then say, what is the infrastructure master plan for the province? Bring in all the municipalities and say, as a province, with all of the municipalities, what are the challenges? I can tell you right now, Johannesburg needs about 100 billion rand for its infrastructure. Joburg, Tshwane and Ekurhuleni each need about 90 billion rand. So you can then add up and you would realize that none of these municipalities would have on their own, and I'm only now talking about the metros. You can then now talk about Mfuleni, you can talk about Lesedi, you can talk about all these municipalities, and you'd realize that none of them will be able on their own to build up their own infrastructure and to maintain the infrastructure. And it's pretty simple. Go and look at what the Auditor General is saying. He says none of the municipalities are now financially sustainable in the long run. Why? Because now you have to rely on these on a daily basis. The tankers that you have to rely on a daily basis. And now what we started seeing happening in KZN is now happening in Gauteng. There's tanker mafias in Gauteng, where some of these infrastructures deliberately now been destroyed, deliberately now been sabotaged, so that they can be reliant on the tankers. And therefore municipalities are not going to be able to sustain themselves. Because what end up happening is that money that is supposed to be going towards building and maintaining the infrastructure is now being drawn, is now being taken towards the provision of water through tankers. And this now is happening more and more frequently, which means that municipalities are having more and less money that they can put towards infrastructure. We have said that the infrastructure master plan is something that the provincial government must put together, pool all the resources at a local level, and come up with an infrastructure grant at a provincial level that we are able to then say, we will go and seek for money at a provincial level, make sure that we able to then build and replenish all this infrastructure, and make sure that you're able to then start billing people correctly, so that when you bill people correctly, you are able to then, recover the monies. I mean, you go to Mfuleni, you would know that Mfuleni right now had their bank accounts been attached. Rainwater has attached Mfuleni, accounts. Eskom has attached Mfuleni accounts. And when, Peter, when we were in charge of Mogale City didn't owe Eskom a cent, didn't owe Rainwater a cent. Go and look at the situation right now. And it's getting even worse. And we are not going to be able to do it if the municipalities are left to their own devices. What normally happens is that even with the informal settlements, there's a mushrooming of an informal settlement. Tomorrow, the same people that are there are demanding for services. They're demanding rudimentary services. Those are things that hadn't been budgeted for, but have to be catered for. That means that municipalities will then take money out of other programs and other projects to make sure that they're able to then fund this. And therefore, they will then continuously neglect the infrastructure that is there. We now need to make sure that that maintenance plan that we spoke to can actually then be funded from a provincial perspective, implemented at a local level, maintained at a local level. And this is what we have been asking for. But unfortunately, we have had a premier that is more obsessed, with power than actually using the power to do what is right. We have had a premier that is very much obsessed about, showing that he's got power, which he doesn't at this point in time. With a 34%, government that is running, he doesn't have the power. We have been saying we want to work with you. We have a plan that we want to introduce and help you to then roll out this thing so that municipalities in the long run can start experiencing some savings. Imagine if Johannesburg was to reduce its water losses by just 20%. Just 20%. Johannesburg will be able to turn its financial situation around. But now you are losing so much because certain instances they will tell you that it's not only the people that are losing water through, best pipes. It's also the fact that you have so much illegal connections that are taking place. You have so much water that you cannot account for at the end of the day. Yet, at the same time, Rainwater is saying, but I've given you so much amount of water, I'm demanding payment, for that amount of water. Therefore, we are saying we need a government at a provincial level that is able to then come with the municipalities around the table and say, this is what we now need to do. The fixing of the infrastructure, having the standard operating procedures in terms of the time or the allowed turnaround time when a meter is reported or a best pipe is reported as a problem. That you need to make sure that you don't surpass 6 hours at the most whenever there will be that problem, and you're able to then address that. But until such time as we're able to then do that, I promise you will not be able to then take care of the situation. Unfortunately, we have been telling this government that we are heading into a disaster. But like they acted when we told them about the Eskom disaster almost 2 decades ago, they've turned a blind eye again, and this is why we're finding ourselves in bigger problems. Johannesburg right now, as I'm speaking, there are places like Forsberg. If you don't get water at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, forget about having water the next day. You will go the whole day without having water. There are certain parts when you go into Winterveld, if you don't get water at night when the demand is less, you're not going to get water because there's throttled pressure there. That means that in high-lying areas, water is not able to then be pumped. I think places like Rosettenville, there are places that have gone for quite a long time without water as well. And this cannot be. If we're serious about having an economy that is growing, it requires, a supply of water, supply of electricity. There are companies, NEMPEC is one of those companies that we've engaged with the leadership in there. They are saying, we are struggling. We're employing thousands of people, but we are struggling. We now have to reconsider our options and say whether we want to stay here or we want to then go. We still are saying the DA is willing to provide a workable plan here in Gauteng. A workable plan that is not isolating municipalities, but is integrating municipalities, but is also coordinating from a provincial perspective, and is actually able to then come up with a funding model of this thing. But unfortunately, when you're having a government that is much more arrogant, that is much more interested in proving that they can govern with whatever percentage that they're having, instead of saying, can we work together to provide solution for the people of Gauteng, you'll continue to have reservoirs that are running dry, reservoirs that are actually cracked. The same reservoir that we're sitting next to here is cracked, is actually losing water. Aikenhof is actually losing water. So quite a lot of these reservoirs that are around here are actually losing so much water. And therefore, blaming the residents of Gauteng and blaming the residents of South Africa is not going to be the solution. Yes, we need to then educate people about the proper usage of water and the saving thereof, but it is up to government to make sure that it has a workable plan that can be implemented and make sure that we're able to then implement it as a matter of urgency. We cannot do it next year. We cannot do it in 10 years' time. It has to be done now. There is a plan. We're more than happy to engage Leader. And if they are willing to talk to us, we're willing to listen to and talk to them and implement the solution. Thank you very much.
Well done, Sol. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dean Macpherson. I'm the Chairperson of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm also the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. I just want to give a reflection on the state of water in KwaZulu-Natal. Unfortunately, it seems that all the bad things start in KwaZulu-Natal, then migrate to the rest of the country, whether it's mafia, water tankers, water outages. I don't know what it is, but we still do suffer problems in places like eThekwini, where water shedding or water cutting goes on for hours and days at a time. In the South Coast, we still have places that haven't had water for going on 7 years now. In the Umgungundlovu district, we have a dysfunctional water board that just cannot provide water, which also affects...
Can you continue? You can continue. It is really hot. So things are melting away.
Right, I'll also just...
Okay, it should be fine now.
And in the Umgunglovu district, we have a dysfunctional water board which affects the performance of our Mgeni municipality, which often has to suffer under water cuts because of them. And that's why we developed a plan in going into the election of water in every tap. And we think it is entirely possible that the provincial government can step in and should step in to ensure that water in places like Jozini in the Mkanyakude district do have water, that eThekwini does have a functional water system, and in the Ugu district as well. But it comes down to something that I said last night on a TV program, that municipalities simply cannot and do not have the ability to implement infrastructure plans anymore across the country. They don't have the technical skills, they don't have the ability to do so, and they do not have the financial backing to attract private sector investment into infrastructure development. And for as long as that is allowed to continue, and for as long as the system of just having a hands-off approach to infrastructure development in the country persists, we will continue to see the results that we have, which is why it's so important to see what happened in the Western Cape, how the government intervened and took hands and partnered with local government. That's why you will know that we have started what we term as Adopt a Municipality, where we are going to be instituting a trial project with 4 local municipalities across the country to work with them through an entity of ours to implement infrastructure needs, particularly in things like water treatment, water distribution, and wastewater treatment. And we think that if we can get that right, and if we think we can show the metrics of how successful that is by ensuring that the 950 billion rand that is made available in the 3-year budget cycle for infrastructure development is actually implemented, that we will be able to see water flowing through every tap in this country. But it's also incumbent on political parties to actually do what they have been elected to do. And particularly in this city and this province, the city has an Action SA-led coalition government. And they must stop pretending that they have nothing to do with the governance of the city. They are directly responsible for why people don't have water in their taps now. And they will bring the same disaster to Tshwane as well, because they are being led by the nose, by the EFF, who have no interest in ensuring that water is delivered to people's taps, except through tankers, so that they can get a cut from that. And make no mistake, there will be political parties that will be supporting the water tanker mafia to make sure that they destroy infrastructure so that they can get kickbacks and a cut from what is being then have to be provided to municipalities. And I don't just know that, I don't think that that's a theoretical explanation. I've seen it for my own eyes in KZN. And remember, what starts in KZN migrates to the rest of the country. And it was political parties acting to go and destroy infrastructure, working with groups to go and destroy infrastructure. Why? So that they could then make sure that their comrades and friends were able to get tenders for water tanker mafia. Just an eThekwini leader, they budgeted 500 million rand for water tanker services. Why would you do that? Rather spend the money on fixing the infrastructure. But you can't get so much money out of that if you were to fix the infrastructure. So you just go and follow the money, and you will see the political parties in different colors, not blue, that will be behind these water tanker mafias, I assure you. So I think it's important that now, as we move forward, we hold them accountable. We're doing what we can in national government to make sure that they can get water into their taps, but municipalities have to play their part, and they have to ensure that they put the interests of the residents first. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindy. I'm the DA leader in the lovely province of Limpopo, and I sit in the provincial legislature. And if ever there was a place for a crisis, it has to be Limpopo. After complaints some time ago, a year ago, almost to the day, we were given a report by the Human Rights Commission after we had requested an investigation into state of water in Limpopo. That report revealed that not one water service authority in the entire Limpopo province was in line with the Act, and that 70% of people had been denied their basic human rights in terms of the Constitution to access to clean running water. There was a total collapse of infrastructure. Out of that report, every one of those water service authorities was given 3 months to supply their turnaround strategy to the HRC. In that report, the MEC of Coxter and the Premier were pointed at by the Human Rights Commission saying what you did was inadequate and your oversight on this situation severely compromised and not up to standard. I'm talking to you a year later. We are still waiting for those Water Service Authority reports. We are still waiting for the report that had to be submitted by the MEC of Coxter and the report that had to be submitted by the Premier of Limpopo. We still have not got that. And in the meantime, the situation gets worse. Our 57% is now at 70%. In a province with the highest expanded unemployment rate, and with, as I stand here, people sitting in temperatures of 46 and 47 degrees heat with no water. Polokwane, the city itself, I have huge areas that have not had water for 21 days in the capital. 21 days, no water. That didn't, however, stop them lifting the building moratorium to build more developments when they can't supply water to what we've got currently. So that comes with a problem. But added to that, apart from the fact there is no water and a collapsed infrastructure, I have done recently oversights on all the sanitation plants, the sewage plants in Limpopo. Not one of them was functional either. Raw sewage coming into those plants, directly out of those plants into the rivers. We recently had our first outbreak of cholera. Because you see, when you can't get water from a tap, you need to go and get it from the river. I still find people on a daily basis drawing water out of holes next to the cattle and goats in the area. It is the only way they can find water. The water table has dropped. They are running out of that water too. But to draw water from a river has now become a huge risk because it is contaminated by the sewage plants that are running directly into those streams and rivers. Our local municipalities are totally dysfunctional, with several operating on an unfunded budget. The vacancy rates are astronomically high, and the capacity of the personnel that are there do not meet standards to deal with this crisis. It is really a time of hardship for the poor and vulnerable. And as Dean and the other leaders have mentioned, we now have the water mafias. I got a video yesterday of a tanker arriving in a village in Msimanga, which has to be the hottest town in the country, where people were hitting each other with sticks and rocks because they were not going to all get water. They were arguing about who was first in the line and who should get a bucket and who should not. It's turned into a war zone. And yet our Limpopo province dreams on holding functions for this, that, and another. So I ask the people of Limpopo, and I tell you, this hope is not over. We can fix this. We can fix it with the right people in place, with the political will, with the expertise. And if we don't have the expertise in Limpopo, we will bring the expertise from Cape Town and from Midvaal, who have put out their hand to say, you need us, we will be there to help you. We can't help you. We cannot turn the situation around until you give us the mandate in Limpopo to do so. I hope that you are not turning a blind eye to what I am saying today. For those of you watching this broadcast, I have no doubt that you will be sitting under the blistering heat without a fan, without water, without access to air conditioning, and dying of thirst. My heart is with you. I was in Tabazimbi this week. I know exactly what it feels like. Change your vote. It's time to say enough is enough. Let's give the DA the chance to fix the Limpopo crisis. I thank you.
I'm taking it off. The feet of Kai.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Igor Skierkwogel. I'm the Deputy Chairperson from the heart of South Africa. The orange, well, not, it's the Orange Free State because it's so dry now, so they can actually bring back that name. Life is water. It's the foundation of health, dignity and progress. It's the lifeblood of our economy and our future. Yet, the Free State is being denied that fundamental right. Today, I don't just address you as Igor, but as a fellow South African who shares the frustration, the anguish and the determination to see change to protect our constitutional right to have access to water. The Ishmajagule legacy of state capture and corruption has left the Free State water infrastructure collapsing under mismanagement and cater deployment. Of the 96 water waste treatment plants, 64 of them are in critical condition. Municipalities like Mangaung loses 46% of their water due to aging infrastructure. That's 1.7 billion rand waste. Communities in Kwakwa haven't been having water for more than a decade. In Parijs, they endure weeks without water, while sewage spills into rivers like the Vaal, the Wilge and Caledon. In Vrede, they are supplied with 6 water tankers that have to travel 70 kilometers to Warden or sometimes 75 to Milan. It's not just a question of scarcity, but of mismanagement. Untreated wastewater contaminates drinking water, reservoirs run dry because of power cuts, theft, and contractors abandon these projects like Namahadi and Mafube. What's the result? Cholera outbreaks, unsafe drinking waters, and unthinkable suffering, like towns in Wimberg and Maleketla that have been without water for 27 days. This crisis is personal. Children walk through sewage to reach school. In my home municipality, Macpherson, on the 10th of November, Loyilo Maketa LH11 and Relapeng Mechijutu drowned in Tabong because of incomplete sanitation project. It's a sheer cruelty that children have to die because of cater deployment. Families rely on expensive and unreliable water tankers, as my fellow colleagues said, controlled by mafias to exploit their desperation through lucrative contracts with the municipalities. Business shut down because they don't have water, pushing the unemployment rate higher. Now, the DA is working tireless around this program. Through legislative oversight, we took action to get Section 139 interventions in municipalities like Macpherson to expose corruption and incomplete projects. Through our leadership of Dr. Roy Jenkinson, we submitted a detailed report to the South African Human Rights Commission, and they've recently released that report that's saying that all these municipalities need to take action within 3 months. Our council is on the ground, partnering with civil society, trying to bring relief to communities by our abandoned government. But relief is not enough. Systematic change has to happen. We have to appoint skilled, professional people to manage the water systems, not unqualified caterers. We have to end cater deployment, which puts loyalty over competence. Restore maintenance and repairs programs of aging infrastructure. We have to limit the Minister of Water Sanitation with her unchecked powers ensuing over water boards and we have to make sure that the water boards are led by qualified people to limit political interference so that waters go through taps. But we cannot do this fight alone. We need you, every South African, every Free Stater, to bring change. That's why the DA, we have launched the Dry Taps campaign. So visit nodrytaps.co.za and sign our petition. Together we can demand transparency, accountability, and investment to rebuild our water system. Together we can ensure that every tap runs with clean, reliable water. Together we can protect the dignity and the future of every South African. This is not just about water. It's about hope, justice, and future we all deserve. The DA is ready to lead this change, hand in hand with you. So come 2026, in the next local government election, vote DA and keep the taps running. I thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Bosman Grobler, the Provincial Chairperson of the Democratic Alliance in Mpumalanga. I'm also a member of the Provincial Legislature, and as you can see on the map behind me, at least in 2023, Mpumalanga was the province that did the worst in water provision for our citizens. There's literally not one moment or 1 minute that every community in any of the 17 municipalities of Mpumalanga has water at the same time. Every moment there's a mother, a child, or a grandfather which this basic human right is being stolen from. In the Gauteng municipality, which is better known for the towns of Secunda and Bethel, over the past couple of months, the municipality suffered from persistent water shortages because of issues with Rand water and old and dilapidated infrastructure. And although the municipality blamed it on the dilapidated infrastructure, the DA's investigation showed that the municipality of Gauteng owes Rand water 800 million Rand. They were therefore throttled with water, and this gives the municipality only 50% of the water that they need. Obviously, this has a huge influence on the towns and communities of Gauteng. The DA in Gauteng has led the fight against the shortage of water through various petitions, motions, statements in council, and we are proud to say that 30 million Rand was allocated towards infrastructure development and maintenance in Gauteng. We will keep that executive accountable to spend that money correct. In the towns of Standerton and Balfour, which is the municipalities of Lekwa and Dipaliseng, these municipalities are at the grips of water shortages. And the DA uncovered 2 projects which were undertaken to build water reservoirs in these municipalities. And despite millions being spent, these reservoirs are unused at the moment. In the municipality of Tabacheu, the Leidenburg Dam is at 40%, but despite that, there's a water shortage and water is getting little. The infrastructure of the town of Leidenburg is so dilapidated that the water cannot get to the houses in Leidenburg. Our councillor there has driven this issue through various pickets, petitions, and media statements. In the town of Msugalikwa, where day 0 is approaching very fast, the Willem Bremer Dam is drying out. The DA has driven this issue on various levels, with a visit from our committee chairperson in Parliament, our deputy minister, but the problem remains that the infrastructure which should be maintained by the municipality is not maintained, and water cannot be delivered to the residents of the municipality. In this municipality, the same as many of my colleagues said, water tankers and the water mafia are really at the steer of things. Our Member of Parliament, Henro Kruger, wrote to the Deputy President on this issue as well. In the town of Carolina, in the Chief Albert Lutuli municipality, the water level of the Boesmanspruit is at 40%. Our Lone Ranger councillor there has fought this issue on many levels, calling for a special council meeting to only discuss the water issue of the municipality. Both the Premier and the MEC of Coxta has been approached specifically for Umsukaligwa and Albert Lutuli, where day zero is fast approaching. The DA in Mpumalanga calls on residents in Mpumalanga to vote for the DA. Where we are now, we will keep holding the executives at local and provincial level accountable for what they should do and how they should spend their funds. But the easier choice is to vote for a DA representative and make your local council a DA council. We have got the solutions and we will implement them. In 2026, vote DA. I thank you.
Yeah, everybody's hot here, so they ask for 1 minute. Good morning. I am Leon Basson. I'm the provincial leader in Northwest and the spokesperson on water and sanitation in Parliament. Northwest is not different of the other provinces that has spoken before me. As we speak at the moment, in Rustenburg, there's a shortage of water. In Brits, Maribeng, there's a shortage of water. We can look at Klerksdorp and in Lichtenburg. Lichtenburg, that has been dissolved in 2022 because of maladministration. That municipality, only 3 of the 17 boreholes are functioning, and those people are sitting without water now for weeks. The local government and provincial government is not assisting to get these people to get water. And the mere fact is that the private sector is not contributing anymore because they've done it so much in the past. The DA itself spent hundreds of thousands of rands only in Lichtenburg. We took Eskom to court. We have paid for pumps and valves that came out of DA funds to assist the community, but that did not help that community. And that is not because there is drought in the area, in the province, or a shortage of water. It's because of municipalities where there is corruption, maladministration in those municipalities, where we see tanker mafia damaging our infrastructure so that they can make more money getting water to the people. The same water that the municipality is cleaning that needs to be paid for is tankered to communities for free, and the municipalities needs to pay that. Our infrastructure in the country is at a very bad state. We're going to need more than 900 billion rand in the next 8 to 10 years to fix this infrastructure. And the only way we can do that in this country is to take hands with the private sector to make sure that we get people involved in water so that we can clean up the administration and get our water clean. We've seen the Blue Drop report that has been released. There's a reduction in the quality of our water. And that is a huge problem, that in some areas you would get water, but you're not sure whether that water should be boiled or not. So South Africa is facing a huge problem with our water, and I think it is time for government to take hands and make sure that there's leadership, because the problem lies in local government. On local government, where the ANC and Action SA and the EFF is governing, they're looting the coffers of those municipalities, and they are not paying water boards. That's why we see 2 water boards in this country that is going bankrupt in the next 6 months. I sit on the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, and we had a meeting with National Treasury, and we instructed National Treasury to come up with a plan to help these water boards. And 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, it was decided from National Treasury, in consultation with Kokta Minister and Water and Sanitation Minister, that the equitable share of 5 of the biggest role players in the big amount of money that's outstanding to water boards, that their equitable share would be frozen, and that money will be utilized to pay the water boards. So government can't just, and local government as well as provincial government, they can no longer just have a blind eye on the problem and say it's not our problem, it's a problem of Rand Water or this water board or that municipality. It's collectively. The provincial government must look after the municipalities and the metros within their areas and make sure they deliver quality water services to the people. It's the people's constitutional right to have clean drinking water. And we now see that this government is neglecting that and people are denied that right. So on 2026, it's the time now to change local government because that is where the problem lies. If you want to go on, continue having water shortages for the next 10 years, you must keep on voting where you're voting. But if you want change, you need to vote for the DA because where we govern, you would see 3%. Because provincial government cares, local government cares. And like Solly has said, it's not the residents that's to be blamed, it's government. So make a choice in 2026 and get the right government to make sure that we can get sustainable services all over this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. To see if Peter Texera can provide water in Midvaal, then surely the municipality right next door here, Mfuleni, can do the same. And most definitely, the city of Johannesburg with a metro budget can do better and make sure that residents have water. So it's very clear to see that the problem here isn't really that there's a budget that is missing somewhere to provide water. Simply the problem here is that we have people occupying positions that they are lazy for, people who do not care about South Africans, people who are not interested in serving South Africans. And that's why the Democratic Alliance today, our message is very clear, to say to South Africans, we see where the problem is. Together with you, we are committed to turning the tide around. We want to ensure that in the next local government election, South Africans have an opportunity to have sober representation. Make sure that we have people sitting in the right positions occupied to make sure they work. So we, colleagues, have just tabled all of that. We are good. We are going to have an opportunity after this for one-on-one engagements with the media. So if you guys do want to have any conversations with any of the leaders here today, there will be an opportunity for one-on-one. I still implore everyone, guys, to say we have a website that is available for us. That is nodrytaps.co.za. Let us go to it, make sure that we participate and make sure that across the country, each and every one of us get to register our grievance against the sheer disrespect that has been seen by government by not providing people with water that is a human right. I want to say thank you for every one of you guys for sitting here in the sun with us in commitment to ensuring that people have water. Thank you for taking the opportunity. For everybody who's tuning in online, thank you again for tuning in. Continue to like and subscribe our views to make sure that you follow all DA content. I want to say thank you, guys. Kidizamba, homanad. Bye-bye.
Rest in peace.
We just heard from the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, and DA leaders from across the country, the sad state of affairs that our water is currently in. Yes, in Johannesburg, we are struggling with water. Every single day we're having water cuts, but this is happening throughout the entire country and something must be done. We have those in power in municipalities, in the legislatures, doing nothing, not taking this problem as serious as it should be taken because people are struggling without water. Sometimes it feels as if water is a luxury in our country, but it never can be a luxury. It is a basic human right. It's a constitutional human right. I am now joined by the DA Mayor of Midvaal, Peter Teixeira. Hello, Peter.
Hi.
It's so good to have you here today. Please, can you tell us, we're out in Johannesburg to demand action for the water crisis. Can you tell us, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, look, I'm very sad listening to some of our leaders, talking about all the water crisis and the challenges in different provinces, but also here locally in Johannesburg. Water is a basic need for residents. And, a person like myself, being mayor, I understand that is a service that I should be providing to my residents. It is not something that we should complicate. It is not something that must be a luxury to residents. So it's quite sad. I'm feeling a bit disappointed. I also want to say that the residents have a choice come 2026. Put a government in place that has an action plan to actually shield the residents and protect residents from water cuts and everything that is happening. My residents are very blessed in Midvaal because this is something that we don't experience. We don't. It's not an issue that is discussed regularly by the municipality or the residents. We already at a level where we are saying, how do we create jobs for our people instead of grappling with issues of water shortages, etc.
Absolutely, Mayor. You were speaking on the podium around the infrastructure master plan and the work that you guys are doing with, I think, your new reservoir. And I'm really contemplating moving to Midvaal as a resident of Johannesburg to actually have water when I open the tap. So what is the situation with the water in Midvaal?
Yeah, look, we have ample supply of water for our residents. With our infrastructure master plan that we put together 2 decades ago, we are ensuring that there's proper repairs and maintenance to our existing infrastructure, as much as we are also improving or building new infrastructure like the reservoir, pump stations, replacing the old asbestos cement pipelines that constantly break and cause water shortages. We are putting new infrastructure, to ensure that our residents do not experience what we've heard here today. Look, there's still a lot more to do. We are also a paid-up client to Rainwater. I think we can brag about that. We're one of the few municipalities in Gauteng that does not owe Rainwater a cent. And this is because, our residents pay for the service, which they are getting regularly, so it's not a problem to pay. So, I think our residents are shielded against these water cuts that's being experienced across the country. We're already putting alternatives, to reduce reliance on rainwater for the next 10 to 15 years to ensure that when rainwater fails, we can continue providing water to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor Teixeira, can you tell us what are some of the lessons other municipalities can learn from Midvaal when it comes to water management and supply? So in other words, what can they do to fund tips from Midvaal?
So number one, they got to have an infrastructure master plan for water. The second part is they've got to have a repairs and maintenance action plan for their existing infrastructure. And then also, it's very, very important that they also look at a water demand management action plan for the municipality to reduce water losses. We have a service charter within the municipality where it indicates what the response time is for burst water pipes. They've got to ensure that is in place. We see streets, where there's water running for days and months in some of the other municipalities. So this is something that does not happen in Midvaal. And I just want to indicate that, the municipality is also open to share best practices where we can with our neighboring municipalities. But most of the time they are too shy because they know that they failed maladministration that has happened. Right next to us, Rainwater, who owes 1.8 billion rand to Mfuleni, who owes 1.8 billion rand to Rainwater. It's terrible. We're seeing residents on the border of Midvaal and Mfuleni, residents from Mfuleni coming into Midvaal to get water because the municipality has totally collapsed. The water infrastructure has collapsed. People have no water there. Now they're coming into Midvaal. So I don't mind. People can buy property in Midvaal. They can come move to Midvaal, but there is a bigger plan. Come 2026, if they vote for the correct government with the proper political will, they too can get a government like Midvaal.
Thank you very much to Mayor Peter Texera for telling us exactly how it's being done in Midvaal. For all the other municipalities watching it, fun tips from Midvaal. They've obviously got it right. I am now joined by the Gauteng provincial leader, Msimanga. Hello, Solly, and welcome to the broadcast. How are you feeling today?
Oh, very hot, very dehydrated, but also excited that, the DA is actually now saying to the rest of South Africa, judge. We're saying we have plans, we are putting plans on the table. We're not just complaining, we're putting plans on the table. We are saying here's solutions to the problems that we're sitting with. In Gauteng, we have been talking about the infrastructure master plan, a plan that we have been saying even before the elections, let's all come around the table, let's implement this. Because we do have an understanding, Nasli, that municipalities on their own are not going to be able to then win this. I can promise you right now, Johannesburg needs over 100 billion rand for its infrastructure. Pretoria or Tshwane needs about 95 billion rand, Ekurhuleni, and you can go to all the smaller municipalities. You look at what the Auditor General is saying. Municipalities in Gauteng are not sustainable financially at this point in time, which then tells you that they will not be able to then implement any of these plans on their own. And this is why we have said you need to have a provincial infrastructure master plan. You need to cost it. You need to be able to then come up with a grant system that you can raise money, not make money available to municipalities so that it goes into dark pits and then, you end up having corruption that ends up having money stolen and no delivery taking place. But you can have a grant system that allows municipalities to tap into that, but to fix their infrastructure, to build capacity for infrastructure so that municipalities can have 50, 60-year plans from now that we will be able to then build up towards. And this is what we've been saying to the to this government. Unfortunately, the arrogance and the neglect and the arrogance, let me start there, the arrogance that they've displayed to then say, well, we in government will do whatever we want. But the neglect that says, well, we don't care as long as we're able to then make money on the side with water tankers or whatever the case is. That's what has been happening.
That is absolutely shocking, Solly, to hear that there are people in government and in power who are putting their needs before the needs of the people. Now, we know we're struggling in Gauteng, especially here in Johannesburg. And I'll keep saying it, as a resident of Johannesburg, I am sick and tired of opening taps and nothing comes out of it. So what is the DA in Gauteng doing to try and fight this water crisis?
Well, there's quite a number of things that we have been doing. One is that we have tried to engage, and we're still engaging with Water, to then say, let's sit around a table with municipalities and come up with this plan that will say how much water is pumped, what are we doing to make sure that not only we have water that is flowing from rainwater into the taps, that we don't lose as much as we normally would have been losing, but more than that, that we are able to then ensure that ultimately, we able to then account for each and every litre that gets to be distributed there. We've written to the Human Rights Commission, and they are looking into this matter because we are saying, access to clean, drinkable water is actually a constitutional right. It is a right that you have. And therefore, when you're having people like in Fortsburg and Rosettenville and in the surrounding areas here around Joburg, when you're having certain parts of Tembisa, certain parts of Soweto, certain parts of, Winterfell that are sitting for days and weeks and months without water, we are then saying it's a constitutional crisis that now needs to be looked at. So as a DA, we've taken the baton on, but we are continuously trying to engage with the MEC, trying to engage with the Premier to then say, come around the table. Putting your head in the sand is not going to be the solution. Absolutely. Don't pretend like there's no problem, and don't pretend like whoever else might be coming with a solution and it's something that you're not willing to listen to. If somebody's saying we want to then come up and be part of the solution, bring everybody around the table, bring the solutions together and implement. It doesn't matter it's coming from the DA. It doesn't matter whether it's coming from Solidarity or it's coming from Baagi or whatever the case may be. If there are people who are bringing workable solutions, stop thinking about how much can be stolen and start thinking about how much can be saved so that residents ultimately have the water that they need.
Absolutely. Solid. I've heard radio silence from the mayor of Johannesburg. I've heard radio silence from the premier of Gauteng. In fact, I think he said it's not my problem to deal with. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I'm not expecting very much coming from Dada Morero. He said it from the day that he was inaugurated. He says, don't expect much from me. So why should we expect anything? While he, out of his own mouth, said, don't expect anything from me. And the problem with Panyaza Lesufi is that he wants to have grand ideas that, you know, that only boost his ego. The grandest status that he likes is not really to help the people. It's to then have Amapanyaza riding around in expensive vehicles. Is just to have, you know, events left, right, and center, you know, cutting ribbons of this or opening of that, or making big announcements of these mega projects, but failing to deal with the basics. I've said you cannot talk about building new cities if you cannot provide the water that is needed for life to take place. You cannot talk about, you know, the economy that is growing if you cannot take care of the basics. What are the basics? The infrastructure, water, electricity, roads. You know, those are the basics that you need to talk to. And then development takes care of itself. You know, people want to then come and invest because they have access to the basics. If you're able to understand that and can actually work as government towards implementing and providing that, you will see all these other things come into place. We now hear of a speed train that is going to be moving from Limpopo, you know, to Johannesburg in 2 hours or less. Yet you're having people that are sitting in Volksberg that if you don't get water at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to have water the next day. You have people that jobs are being threatened at Nampek in Pretoria, where, you know, because there's no coordination in terms of what is happening between rainwater, the municipality and the provincial government. You have companies that are now threatening to close down. And yet you want to talk about speed trains. Let's get the basics right. Let's go back to get the basics right, and everything else will then fall into place when you have these basics right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Solly. It's about getting the basics right. So, Solly, where to from here? We know that we have a collapse of infrastructure. We know that there's a lack of maintenance. Where do we go to from here?
Well, there's quite a number of things that we are doing. As I said, we've already written to the, you know, to the South African Human Rights Commission. We have written now to also the Minister of Water and Sanitation, and also of COCTA, because we do believe that, you know, it cannot be municipalities on their own trying to deal with this issue. It cannot be, you know, just the Department of COCTA just trying to deal with this thing, or even Water and Sanitation on its own trying to deal with this. We need a collaborative, you know, action to take place. We still are more than happy to present a plan, an infrastructure master plan, which we've been inviting these guys to come around the table and engage with us. I don't know whether they're waiting for a bigger disaster. You know, this thing that happened when you would remember with Eskom. With Eskom, we've been saying years ago, there's a disaster that is looming. Let's come around the table and plan and implement a solution. And people were ignoring us. People were saying then we are just being alarmists and all of that. Look at where we ended up at. We ended up losing millions of jobs. We ended up losing billions in terms of, you know, investment. We ended up losing so many lives, you know, and people don't talk to that. The fact that you had hospitals and clinics that sometimes didn't have electricity when they needed that, and nobody's reporting on that. That is things that could have been avoided. These are things that can be avoided now. You go to hospitals like Charlotte Maxeke, where a woman who has just given birth is told somebody must bring them 5-liter bucket of water to come and bath. Yeah, that cannot be. In a democratic society, 30 years into democracy in South Africa, that cannot be. And this is why we are saying that we are more than happy and ready to engage with the plan that we have and get them to implement. Failure to do that, one of the things that we are considering is to approach a court of law and saying that they must force government to actually prove that they have a plan that is implementable and get an independent judiciary that can actually look at enforcing the plan by government here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Solly, for joining us today. I am now joined by the DA leader, John Steenhuisen. Hello, John.
Hello,
welcome
Nancy.
to waterless Johannesburg.
Yes.
I hope you took a shower before you came here because there's no water here in this city. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling very determined to do something about this situation and to call on the citizens at home to really stand up and do something about it. This cannot continue. It is not a normal state of affairs to sit without water in taps. It is dangerous for the economy. It is dangerous for health. and it is devastating for business and residential life, and it really has to come to an end now. We've had the electricity crisis, and now we're staggering straight into water crisis here in Gauteng. And during the electricity crisis, we were told that there was a water crisis because of load shedding. Now load shedding is ended, we're still sitting with the water crisis. So I think what's happening is you're starting to see where the problem really lies, and that's local government and provincial government that are not coordinating as they should be here in Gauteng.
I couldn't agree with you more. John, why was it so important for the DA to be here today at the South Hills Water Tower and address the water crisis?
Well, this water tower is a very good example. It's infrastructure that has failed. That's not Gauteng doesn't have a drought. It's not like what we're seeing in Mpumalanga or parts of the Northern Cape or the Northwest. There's no drought here. The problem is infrastructure. And like this water tower that's cracked and busy leaking into the ground, wasting water and not getting it out into suburbs, so too is this a personification of the state of infrastructure across Gauteng and Johannesburg particularly, because this city, led by Action South Africa, the EFF and the ANC coalition, has not invested what it should in infrastructure over the last couple of years, and as a result, you're sitting with water crisis. So it was important for us to be here at essentially ground zero of the water crisis in South Africa, to start to put on the table some of what we've done in DA-run municipalities, what we've done already where we govern, and what needs to be done in order to deal with the crisis going forward.
Absolutely. John, can you tell us how will the DA in the Government of National Unity address this water crisis? What will the role be?
Well, obviously, we take it up at Cabinet, and we raise it in Parliament, and we've got a Deputy Minister in Water and Sanitation, we've got a Chairperson of the Water and Sanitation Portfolio Committee. But the reality is, and this is the problem, you can make the best plans and strategies at national level. If a municipality does not have the capacity to implement those plans, you're dead in the water. So this is really, national government is doing what it can do. But what it really needs here is a provincial government to stop sitting on its hands and dig in, and a city council here in Johannesburg to actually start taking these things seriously. This is not a government that is serious about service delivery when one of the most basic fundamental human rights like water is not even being realized. And that is clearly lack of budget, lack of focus.
Yeah. John, before I let you go, can you tell everybody at home and all South Africans watching what they can do to form part of the fight for water and sanitation rights?
Well, you can go onto the website, and the details are on the show here. You can sign up and sign our petitions, but you can also make sure that you are registered to vote, because if you look at the figure that we showed during the press conference, 3% in the Western Cape, by far the lowest. Why is that? It's not by accident of geography. It's because DA-run municipalities invest in infrastructure and maintenance and make sure that you have water in your taps. If you want water in your taps, if you want investment in infrastructure, if you want a municipality that is able to deliver the basic services, well, you've got to put the DA in the driving seat, because that is the common denominator in every single municipality across the country that has water, that has basic services, that has jobs for its citizens. It is the fact that it is a blue government, a DA government, a government that gets things done.
Thank you so much, John. There you have it, South Africa. The water crisis is coming to a head. We are going into the festive season with many people being without water. Please make sure you join our fight by signing our petition at nodrytaps.co.za. Send that petition to every single person that you know, so that we can have more people standing with us as we fight for our basic human right, our constitutional right of having water. It is not a luxury, and those in government who are refusing to do anything about it needs to come to the ground and see what we are struggling with every single day. Please make sure you join and follow our social media pages so that you can be up to date with what we are doing in the fight for water. My name is Nazli Sharif, signing out. Shop and away.
I am a mother. I am a father. I'm a daughter. I am a son. I believe in freedom. Freedom to earn a living. Go where I want. Love who I want. Say what I believe and pursue my dreams. I am brave. I am a provider. I believe in fairness. A fairness where our achievements are determined by our choices and hard work. I am a leader. I believe in opportunity. A nation where opportunity is plentiful and everyone's rights are protected. I believe in diversity. Every person has a unique perspective and an important role to play in building our nation. We do not judge each other by how we look, but by who we are. We are South Africans working together. We are the Democratic Alliance.
Thanks for watching. All across our beautiful country, people are joining